Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and General, welcome. Good to have you join us today.
Thank you.
I want to echo the sentiment of appreciation for the fine work of the Guard and your leadership, particularly in that of your team. So we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Two areas of question this morning. As we think about the responsibilities of the Guard and deployments, the future in terms of international conflict is often centered in computer security and cyber security. We see that playing out with rogue nations and particularly some attempts to develop nuclear arms programs. Could you bring us up to date in your efforts in that regard? What is expected of you by DoD and your interactions with them in relation to developing a program of cybersecurity and computer security?
An excellent question. It is a definite threat. Just down yesterday at the Adjutant General Association, we were briefed by a four-star general who runs Cyber Command, and that is a growing concern and a big concern, because not only could it be a direct attack on DoD networks, but also could attack our banking network and really things we take for granted, the power grid and so forth. Right now, the Pennsylvania National Guard has only a very small network security section that works up at Fort Indian Town Gap that works to protect our own military network here in the state of Pennsylvania. The Air Guard has on record now of asking for a cybersecurity squadron, actually as part of the 171st Air Refueling Wing in Pittsburgh, to take advantage of the technology experts that are in Carnegie Mellon University. That is a matter of record. We've been asking for that for 2 years because the Air Force wants to get more and more into cyber protection. In addition, we have an initiative just started with the Army where we want to build a cyber protection platoon, probably in the Philadelphia area, to leverage the expertise that's found in University of Pennsylvania and Drexel University, where we would recruit people for these groups, these units, and they would first start and go to training for cybersecurity, and then potentially could even go into cyber attack. So those are evolving. We don't have them yet. We are protecting our own network, but we think it's very important because for the Department of Defense, if they can get this distributed across all 54 states and territories, it will raise the security measures of our internet considerably.
Very good. And then another area of sort of developing military technology, of course, is the use of drones. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, can you share with us your interaction again with the international theater on that plane, but also your understanding of your legal authority to use drones within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, whether you are currently doing so, or is there a plan to do so in the future and a time frame? Okay.
Another good question. Yes, we've been using first the Raven, which is a small handheld airplane, wingspan of about this long. We're using that in Iraq for a number of deployments, including the 56th Stryker Brigade's deployment. That has a range of a duration of about an hour. The local thing has a small camera on board, an automatic downlink to the ground control station. We also fly those as training measures at Fort Indian Town Gap, and we're restricted to Fort Indian Town Gap to what's called the controlled airspace, which is the airspace right above the post. Because obviously a drone aircraft can't see other airplanes approaching, and so the FAA keeps us to there. In addition, the 56th Stryker Brigade and really now the other two brigades in the 20th Division are equipped with the Shadow, which is a larger airplane, about a 12-foot wingspan, 11-foot length, 6-hour duration, carries 2 cameras. They've been used extensively in Iraq. 2 of our 3 platoons one platoon's been over twice, the other platoon's been over once, and the 3rd platoon is just forming. Those airplanes are on the ground at Fort Indian Town Gap, and we too fly them for training at Fort Indian Town Gap in the controlled airspace. And then finally, there's an initiative on the Department of the Air Force to install an MQ-9 Reaper, which is a much larger airplane, probably double the size of the Shadow, and that can be weaponized. It carries weapons. And that's, we have a proposal, and it looks like it's going to happen, to be assigned to the 111th Air Wing in Willow Grove Naval Air Station, or Horsham Air Guard Station. Now, this would be only the pilot part that flies it. The airplane would not be there. The airplane, there are several dozen, as they call them, orbits that are all over the world. Then we would be assigned one of these orbits, and an airplane would be wherever it is, not in the United States. and it would be orbited, and our pilots would fly it from a ground control station actually on the grounds of Horsham Air Guard Station. So that's really good news for us. It adds more funding, more full-time airmen to that base, and brings us into the 20th century. So that's a proposal, hasn't been approved yet, but it looks like that's going to happen.
And then the second part, with regard to, you explained that you're using drones for training purposes over the gap, the property there. But going forward, plans for use beyond that territory and the legalities of that, could you bring us
We can
up to
only
speed?
fly them in controlled airspace, so I can't fly them off the grounds of Indiantown Gap. And the question came up last year, and the only possible I could see if there were a major catastrophe involving either nuclear or chemical contaminants, and we wanted to find out what was going there, then I might get the exception to policy to allow to fly that airplane, to fly it over if there was a city that had been blown up by a bomb, an atomic bomb, say, or something like that. And that's only my conjecture, but at this point, I'm not allowed to fly it over anything other than Indiantown Gap, and we don't.
And exceptions would be granted by Department of Defense?
Yes, I'd have to come probably from the President.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Chairman.